and did not go to work, it was because we're celebrating the birthday of that man. Tonight we're talking about Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who he was, what he stood for, his beliefs, his ideals, and what would classify as his legacy. Then we'll take a look at the party he left behind, the CPP, on this very special day. How do they feel when the name Kwame Nkrumah is mentioned and the party which he formed has not been able to wrestle power from the NPP or the NDC? What are the factors that are inhibiting the CPP from becoming that force that a lot of Ghanaians are looking forward to, that third force, to either wrestle power from the NPP or the NDC? Tonight, that's our focus live on ETV. My name is Samuel Eshen. We'll take a short breather. When we come back, I'll introduce you to my guest and then we will start the conversation. But as always, I encourage you to share the link on your various platforms, be it on WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, Facebook, so others may get to know the conversation we are having tonight. Do kindly stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the show live on ETV, live on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My name is Samuel Eshen, and tonight my guest is the General Secretary of the CPP, Nanaya Jantua, is with me in the studio, and we are having a conversation about Ghana as a whole, especially on a very special day, memorable day, as we celebrate the birth of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Nanaya, good evening.
Everybody forgets they are champion. My full name is Nanaya Achampem.
We know the name that we knew then when you were at the PURC.
Always that champion has been there. But I think maybe it's difficult for people to mention. But it doesn't make my name full if you say Nanaya Janta. Because Nana is not a name. Yeah, it's the day I was born. So my actual name is Achampem Janta.
What does the Achampem mean?
Achampem means that's the daughter of a king.
The daughter of a king?
Yes. Ohineba.
Oh, wow. Ohineba.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Ohineba.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Then we should have some land too. Anyway, but how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great but tired. My day has been a bit, loaded. We went to the mausoleum this morning for the birthday celebration to spew some flowers and also sing happy birthday and have a union. Yes, you can't have a union with the dead, but this is a founder of the Conventions People's Party, and also a founder for Ghana. Yeah. So we had some time with him. From time to time, we go and say hello and talk to him about issues. And after that, we went to the UDS guest house and had a great time, a great symposium. I mean, we had speakers like Bernard Mona, our own Comrade Kwesi Dede, and others, senior committee called Danka. We had a wonderful time. And after that, I had to go to Solidaire Ghana to chair a socialist think tank, a social democratic think tank. And from there, I had to go to Pan-African TV to also give a talk on the same matter. And I've ended up here. All right. Yes.
I'm interested in the conversation you had with him today. With Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, when you went there, what were the things on your heart that you poured out? If he could hear you.
For me, yes, I believe that he could hear. For me, last year when we went, I actually was in tears because then I asked him to forgive us, to forgive this nation, to forgive whatever we did to him. To think that we banished him from this nation, to think that during the coup d'etat, he was out of this nation in Hanoi, and he was left, the word is not coming, but he was less stateless. It was when Sukuturi decided to take him on, and they actually voted him as the second president, that he had a habitation. This was the president of this nation, and he was just taken off. I mean, normally when coup d'etats happen, the presidents are in the country. Yeah. Achampo and Co were killed, of course, very unfortunate situation, very unacceptable situation at the time. But at least today, somebody can say that Achampo and Co were buried at the military cemetery. Yeah. Even if they were put in mass graves, it can be identified. But this is a person that died, and for so long he was in Guinea. He was in Guinea, and we couldn't bring him down till in 1974 when the Champon took over and he brought him to Ghana to bury him at even in Kufuor. Can you believe that till today we haven't done the funeral of Sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah after 50 years? After 49 years of his death, his funeral had not been done. I mean, that is very unacceptable, and only God knows what he was saying to us, cursing us, just even, I mean, sitting down and thinking through everything he has done for us. And whatever he said, words are powerful. Writing all these books, Dark Days in Ghana and all that. What was he saying? So for me specifically, I always feel that there should be a ceremony to say sorry. We take it for granted. But why are we struggling like this? I always say that no government comes to power with the intention to do the wrong thing. But when anybody sits on that seat, I also believe that I'm not one of those who believe that when people are campaigning, they don't mean what they say. Anybody who is out there campaigning, whatever president, unless it's a junta, but even juntas mean what they say. But why is it that any time a president sits on that seat, they are not focused? Whatever they said during their campaign is just thrown off, and they do something differently.
You think there's a force that pushes them off?
I believe that we should say sorry. We are being belligerent, but I believe we should say sorry to Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah as a nation. Because it is so painful. He was a human being. Kwame Nkrumah wasn't a god. He was an icon, a man with an indelible legacy. Like maybe Nelson Mandela. He was human. Nelson Mandela, with all, I mean, his bust being at the Hyde Park in London and everybody hailing him, was a human being. He left Winnie Madikizela Mandela. If he was a god, he wouldn't have left her. The same way Kwame Nkrumah had his faults, but it didn't merit for us to banish him. He didn't engage in any treasonable offense. He didn't do anything that deserved him to be banished. That even I am told that when he was sick and he got cancer, he wrote to Ghana, the foreign embassy, that he wants to come back home for nothing at all, to die at home for his family to bury him. We denied him. A Ghanaian. A full-blooded Ghanaian. I mean, that is woefully unacceptable.
Would anybody be right to say, but we haven't heard the party that he left behind being that loud in this advocacy for either his burial or this cause of asking for forgiveness from Osagyefo
I think
Doctor?
it is time that we spoke about it vociferously. I think it is time that maybe we met leadership to say that, hey, we think so. Because I believe strongly that something was uttered. In that anguish, I believe strongly that something was uttered that is mitigating against us. Because you see, Ghana, in spite of our size and our numbers, we are the beacon of hope for Africa.
But if your suspicion is anything to go by, there are big prophets in this land. There are big men of God in this land. Wouldn't they have seen something, that there's a force that's working against us, and that's how come we are developing at the pace we are developing?
There is no curse without a cause, and God decides to reveal to whom he wants to reveal to. And it's possible even these, because they haven't averted their mind to it. I saw somewhere sometime on Oprah News, a prophet, I don't know from where, just made an allusion to the fact that we need to ask for forgiveness from Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. It was just a pass-through. But I have thought about it long ago. Even as a young woman, I thought about it. Because my father was deep in it with Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The struggle for the independence Bedi Akupoku, Kobodusei, that where Kobodusei's sister was even killed. So the actual roots of the struggle for independence, Kumasi Ashanti region, was key. So, because of my father and my uncle, as a very young girl, I used to hear a lot about Kwame Nkrumah and the anguish he used to go through with everything that is going around. But as I grew up and now I've taken this position, I have always been an Nkrumah person. I've always been an Nkrumahist. I mean, in my family, you can't be anything else. But there are others who are also on the other side because my mother is from the UP tradition and my father is an Nkrumahist.
Okay.
They married for 75 years. But, I mean, it is there. Majority of us are Nkrumahists.
Okay.
The rest are from the UP tradition. So, and there are some too who are in DC. We are 15. It is divided.
Okay.
So, the point is that it is recently that I put an array of his pictures together and I decided to study them. And I looked into his eyes and I saw pain.
You saw pain?
Yes.
Okay.
I saw pain and I saw sadness. That even when he smiled in a picture, you could see some unhappiness. So I just started putting the pieces together, but even before the coup started, he was unhappy. I saw a picture of him sitting behind the desk in Guinea, and he didn't look happy. And certainly, who will look happy? Especially a man. Do you get me? Men are very territorial.
Yeah.
And if now he's sharing somebody's space, no matter how much secretary would want him to be comfortable, to think that he left behind the whole nation, his home, his children, to think that Samia left daddy at 2 years and never saw him again till he died, and never saw his body. Sometimes we speak against Sekou. I think Sekou was a baby. When we see the pictures, Fataya was holding Sekou, Samia was by about 2-3 years, then Gamel was a little bit older, leaving Ghana to Egypt. Yeah. Never saw daddy again. Do you think Sekou will be all right? Why are we not sympathetic towards Sekou? This is a traumatic family. Daddy wasn't there. That you never saw your daddy again. You never even saw your daddy's body. We haven't done well as a nation. You haven't done well to Sam, you haven't done well to Sekou. Gamel decided to stay away. But we have not done well. If they were our children, what would we have done? All the presidents in this country have children. Has anybody ever thought about the psychological trauma of what these people have gone through?
What do we owe them?
We don't owe them money or anything. We owe them some care and love. That when Sekou goes off, everybody starts insulting him. I don't. Because I'm a political daughter. And I know what it is to go through some of the things that they have been through. I grew up in that kind of environment. My father wasn't killed, but he wasn't there. He was imprisoned, he was jailed, we went through trauma. And as your years go by, you need a lot of fortitude and the Spirit of God to help you to be who you are. So to think that daddy just left and I never saw the body of daddy. They are very strong children. Samia, Sekou, and Kamel. They are very strong.
Let's press the fast forward button and come to now, taking a look back as to the industrialization drive of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And today we talk about one district, one factory, one village, one dam, and the rest of them. Meanwhile, there are projects he started way back that we have not been able to resuscitate them. How do you feel as a representative of a political party about the Kufuor administration, their first tenure ending, and they being in the second tenure? How do you feel about their performance the last tenure?
Abysmal.
Abysmal?
Yes.
What informs your...
We had so much hope.
Even you as a CPP person,
no,
you had hope?
Yes,
in the NPP?
Well, not in the person.
In the person, you had hope in Kufuor?
Yes, in the person. Because Kufuor for me is like a father. And he was in my home with my father in the struggle against subjugation during a Champo's time, the PMFG. He stood and was against VAT. He's always fought for the poor, the needy. He's always been out there agitating for justice. And now he comes and is as if everything is out of order.
Give me pointers. What informs your abysmal rating?
Pointers?
Yeah.
Times are hard. I never expected that under Kufuor it would be like that. Wanton disregard, I mean, it's as if nobody cares, nobody respects anybody. That is not Kufuor. Today I'm being me. That is not Kufuor. The Kufuor I've known all my life as a little girl has been the protector of the needy. And I don't think that...
Could it not be that those were traits, as they say, politicians exhibit in the quest to get power, and then when they do, their true selves show?
No, not with him.
Okay.
People say that, but not with him. There are two people that they can't hide who they are.
Okay.
Kufuor has a very beautiful smile. His Excellency Kufuor. And that tells you who the person is. Sometimes even feigns not to smile, it comes out. When his laugh breaks out, it tells you who he is. President John Dramani Mahama, very nice person. People might not like his politics, but the truth is that he is a true human being. Likewise, President Kufuor. So that he's a patriot. Somebody who stood with Kwesi Price and co. to make sure that certain things which were wrong was righted. He was part of the people who stood against a champon. He stood against injustice. He did a lot of demonstrations against injustice. He was passionate about the nation. Maybe it is his age. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe the people around him are not helping him. I cannot see how today we buy fuel at 30 Ghana cedis and he doesn't care.
But these are factors that are out of their control.
Yeah, but
they are world market prices that determine the prices of these products.
But what happened to cushioning your people?
But we are running a deregulated sector now.
It is not always that. I worked in a sector that was, it was regulated, but it was also deregulated somehow because the factors that affected the production of electricity and water was beyond our control. But there were times government will come in and say that I'm paying a subsidy.
Which landed us in the problems of the ECG and co. Because ECG will bring their proposals, your outfit would intervene, cut them, looking at
we
the
give
burden,
them what they need.
Yes, the burden that would be...
Looking at an 8% rate of return, that is the maximum that any company would be able to work around. So we give you what you actually need. We don't allow you to bring on padded cost.
Okay.
Padded cost of things which are like clothing for staff and those things. We remove all padded costs that will make the tariff go up. And we allow your allowable rate of return for you to deal with your loans and other grants and other exigencies. That is what we do. But if it comes to the point where we have done our work and government thinks that they are unable, to let the people go through that, they pay a subsidy. So
in this respect, in the matter of fuel or petroleum products, what expectation do you have of the Kufuor administration?
You see, I'm just using as an example because fuel drives everything.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you can have some subsidy for certain class, or for instance, trotro drivers. Let the luxurious people buy their fuel, trotro drivers. You should also, for instance, he says something and it doesn't work. I remember I heard him on TV saying that the roads must be decongested. The finance minister said the same thing, so that there will be less traffic, so that people will spend less on fuel. But it's not like that. I don't know how they were going to decongest, but it was said. My problem is with the rhetoric, that when it is said, it is done. You don't hear about it anymore. Nobody goes back to work on it. But you see, when he says it, somebody should pick it up and say that, Your Excellency, how do we move forward with what you have said? For instance, one thing that is so abysmal is when he refunded his salary. He said at May Day that he wasn't going to collect. Why should anybody put him on payroll and pay him? Because immediately that he left that place, somebody should have just taken a green paper and written to the accountant general that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor says that he is not taking any salary because of the economic situation in the country. His salary increase, he doesn't want it. It goes to the bank. Now, you let the man be paid, put in, and he refunds it. It is negligence. It is abysmal. You see, I was telling somebody this morning that the cheapest job on earth is being a president.
Really?
Yes.
How so?
It is the easiest job.
Managing the affairs of about 31 million people.
It is the easiest job. You know what?
Tell me why.
You have to know what the people want. That is exactly what Kwame Nkrumah did. But what most presidents do is that they don't communicate. And I mean, I will not fault Kwame Nkrumah because at the time, communication wasn't that open. You had only GBs. But you should be able to communicate to your people. The money that you are using to do development is not your money. You don't work for it. It comes to you naturally, whether in the form of a grant, in the form of a HIPIC relief, in the form of a loan, your own royalties, your taxes. It comes to you. Your institutions have to make sure that they collect it. Then you need to be sure to do, you see, one thing governments are not doing, they don't do an audit. When they take over power, when you take over power, if the CPP takes over power today, the first thing we will do is to do an audit. What is available? You do a cash audit, and you do infrastructure audit, you do a technology audit, you do education audit. How many schools are there? How many roads have to be built? Where are the priority areas? If we are going to go according to directive principles of state policy, which enjoins every government to make sure that whatever project that his predecessor did should be continued, then it behoves on any government that when you sit on that seat, you are sitting on a Ghana seat. And the first thing you have to do is to love what you are doing. Because if you love your child, you always buy clothes for your child, make sure he's fed. If you love your husband, you give him food. Sometimes even the money in your pocket, you give it to him. If you love your wife, you do the same. That is where you can sit in the car and wait for her when mosquitoes are biting you, and she's in an office working, and you are reading newspapers. You have to love what you are doing. What has been given to you to look after, you have to love it. And the best thing is you don't go looking for money. The money that you have to sit down and treat it as a household income. If I have a household income of 10 cedis, how am I going to divide it? Which are my priority areas? Which areas? Is it health? What did my predecessor do? Because immediately that you sit on that seat, that person ceases to be your opponent. The person becomes your compatriot. But we carry the issue of the person being an opponent into government. And that we are not even prepared to speak to the person who you took over from. But you see, when you find a witch in a home, that witch, for nothing at all, can tell you that a witch flies between 12 to 3 a.m.
Interesting.
Yes. That witch can tell you where to target your prayer.
Do you find it awkward?
Yeah.
The kind of relationship that exists between the former president and then President Kufuor?
I find it awkward, the kind of relationship that exists between all presidents. It is not a battle. He is not my enemy. The moment you are able to capture the seat for him, he ceases to be your enemy till the next election. And if you caught that person, he can also tell you something, no matter how useless he was. He can even tell you that in your office there's a rat under your table. Because if you don't get that rat out or that mice out, it will gnaw at your table and make your table become weak for nothing at all.
Let's go back to the point you made about a CPP government and the most important step you would take, and that would be auditing.
Yes.
Is that not what governments have done over the years that they take over power, and we are told during the process of transition, when handover notes have been given, that they take almost about a year claiming that they are auditing the contracts, agreements, and deals of the previous administration and projects they embark on to ensure there isn't any, let's say, corruption, which usually tends to be what the opponents then describe as witch hunting.
You see, the point is that I always use America as an example. When an American president takes power, his interest more is to ensure that there's a continuation, there is work has to be done and all that. This transition period that we have, how long does it take? Maybe 3 months. Maybe you have to even relook at the whole election calendar. Because you have an election on the 7th. By 10th, 11th, results are in. Granted, there is a change of government. Then the next thing is this transition. It takes 3 weeks for you to go through the transition. By 7th January, you are handing over. What can you do? And you are plunged into a government. You have to work. You have time to read.
But one would have thought, prior to coming into power, opposition parties always seem to know better as to how to govern a nation.
Yes.
Quoting figures, the government in power quotes figures, and they also quote counter figures.
It is not about quoting figures and talking big. You should even deploy people to go to the ground. President Mahama said that he has built 200 schools. Is it true? If it is true, let it be true. If it is false, let it be false. The fact that if it's true and you say it is false, it's not helping us. Because we need to move to another place where we need to put some investment in there. If it is false, let it be false. President Nana Addo said that he has built 228 factories. Whoever takes power from him, like the CPP, we are going to take power. And he says he has built 224 factories. If it is true, let it be true. So that we also put our focus on maybe building feeder roads, building cocoa roads, developing the agri sector. President Nana Addo says that he has, finished with free SHS. All the issues he has done with it. You do a stakeholders meeting in the education sector and find out, truly, is what he's saying, is it true? You get first-hand information. When people are lying, there's an intelligent way of finding out. You go behind the scenes. It is found out that it is true that he's finished with free SHS. So you leave free SHS as it is, then you move on to something else. That is how you develop.
Are you as a party reviewing the projects or activities of the NPP government now? Have you reviewed
We are
them?
looking at it.
The first term?
Yes, as we have looked at it, but you see, the point is that, as they say, you have to see that it's existing. We might not have the capacity to go round now, but with time, as we go in the regions to do our campaign and do our membership drive, we'll go and see that they said this. Like I saw a dam when I was going from Tumu, from Golu to Tumu, on the road, Lambusi. There was some dam there, and I asked what it looked like, a fish pond. And they said it is one of the one district, one dam. That had never been used. It was even dried up. So in this case, as I go around, I've noted it. Do you get me? So that when we come to power, we know that there are areas, and you can even use your constituency people to find out for you. That the government said that they have built a factory in Ashanti region, my hometown, Mampong. 3. Is it true? You can let people go on a recce as you are in opposition. But as you are in government, I don't think that as you are in government and you have state apparatus with you, you can deploy people to go around to see if truly what is on paper is true.
From your little groundwork that you have done, what should be the priority concern of the current administration?
Youth employment.
Youth employment?
Yes. We need employment. It's not only youth. We're always talking about youth employment. There are people who are adults who are also not having jobs. Because of the banking crisis, we are not looking at that. They don't have jobs. So if you say you have done one
But
district,
why do you describe it as a banking crisis when all we are told is that it's a cleanup exercise that inured to our benefit in the long run?
you see, as long as I lost something, it doesn't inure to my benefit. As long as I lost
Explain.
money.
Okay.
No, as long as I
But
lost.
I thought the Bank of Ghana, the finance ministry said they had allocated a certain amount to ensure nobody loses his money as a result of the cleanup exercise.
Oh, my brother. People have lost money, as in some investment that they did, the reduction in the value and all that. Some haven't gotten their money back. It's there. I mean, some are not working. I take a lot of Uber. I take Trotro. When I say I take Trotro, people don't believe me. But if you're a politician, you want to get information, take Trotro, go to the market, go to Makola, go to Mamobi, talk to the women. You know what is going on. That's where you get your information. For me, when the government is losing power, I get it from Makola. And I'll tell you, you won't make it. I get it from taxi drivers. When taxi drivers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tell you that you will not make it, you will make it.
Did you get that sense in the 2020 elections?
Yes. I mean, I hear it everywhere. Now everybody says CPP.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Which of the Trotro stations
Uber,
do you run that they say a CPP that's coming?
Everybody say we should organize and come.
Okay.
Uber, taxi, market women. I go to the market and I wear my cockerel. They will chase me, madam, give us a call, we'll hurry up and come.
But are you hurrying up to come?
Yes, we hurry up. For hurry up there, we hurry up.
This reminds me of one of the phrases our teachers used to use. Be hurry.
Yeah, be hurry.
Be hurry.
Yes. But we are fit to hurry up.
What are you putting in place if you say you're hurrying?
We are organizing membership drive, calling people. We will even enter NDC and MPP.
Really?
Because they've taken our members, they are going to take them back.
And you think the die-hard NDC, NPP folks would come to the... What is so attractive to pull them to come?
We will pull them to come because the two parties are in crisis. And if you stay there at your own peril.
NDC is in crisis, NPP is in crisis?
Both of them. Ghanaians
so?
don't want them anymore.
I wish you could elaborate on that, their crisis and the information that Ghanaians don't want. So, but they went into an election and won.
Which people?
The NPP.
Oh, of course not. But after 1 year, after 8 months into power, are we seeing something good? The fact that you win an election doesn't mean that Ghanaians want you. Do you understand? After 8 months, what are we seeing? Tell me, the MMDCs have been appointed, only 38 women. Meanwhile, women are more than men in this country. Do you understand? 38. Fewer women. We haven't even met the benchmark that we have been given of a 30%. This one is not an elected position. If you tell me that in parliament the women cannot make it because it's an elected position, this one, the president and his ministers have the prerogative to choose. Why don't you do it 50?
Could it be a matter of the women not positioning themselves for these positions?
You see, my dear, it's not everything that should be political. There are women who are not in the MPP who are prepared to work. You see, your best friend there can kill you, but your enemy will not kill you if he's close. A best friend who is close to you can kill you because you'll be unsuspecting. But your enemy close to you will think that you have done the person a favor. So sometimes you can put your enemy in places. I thought that even with the hung parliament, the MPP would have taken some of the NDC people as even deputy ministers. You see, the best way to cripple your enemy is to give him work to do for you. I don't have to be saying this. This is a strategy. I mean, you have to go and read 48 Laws of Power and the Prince Machiavelli. It will tell you.
I know, right?
Do you get me?
Yeah.
Yes. The best way to cripple your enemy is to bring him close. Give him something to do whilst you are watching him.
That brings me to the descriptions you were giving of President Kufuor and your belief in him.
Yeah.
But if it's difficult for us to have an inclusive government, even at the time when we have a hung parliament.
Yeah.
What does it tell you?
It tells me that we don't trust ourselves. It tells me that the fabric is broken down. And that takes me back to a champon. And that takes me back for me to say that even though I was a little girl, that he wasn't treated fairly. Because all he was talking about was the inclusiveness we are fighting for today. A union government. A government of everybody involved. And I believe it is time, because you see, one thing I noticed, people say that I talk about my father a lot. Yes, because I grew up being with him, and he being a politician, he's always been my mentor. But one thing that I saw my father do that was remarkable, I wrote an article on it, when the jailed met the jailer. The person who jailed my father was Afifa in the 1966 coup. Actually, Afifa said that my father was a member of the Russian Communist Party, and that as for Jantua, not the KSP, there were two Jantuas.
Okay.
My father was very vociferous. He was the one who did all the struggle things, I mean, the bomb and the things that were done. He said, as for Jantua, the younger Effie, he will be in prison for a long time. Because and they found the card, the Russian Communist Party card, in his room. And at that time, Nkrumah had left. They were headless.
Yeah.
Their leader had been decimated. But when it came to the struggle to make sure that a champion in their mind doesn't subjugate power, my father sat with Afifa to resist the rule of the oppressor. It did not matter at the time when they sat together in a house at Asokwa, where the PMAJ used to meet. It did not matter to them that one jailed the other. It did not matter to them that one was of the UP tradition and one of the CPP tradition. I want to see that thing today. I want to see that collaboration today. That one day, the CPP, all the Nkrumahist parties, the NDC, the UP tradition of the NPP will come together as one to fight the rule of the oppressor. As we stand down, when Kwame Nkrumah created the national anthem, the rule of the oppressor was the colonial master. The rule of the oppressor was the creeping in of imperialism and neocolonialism. But today, the rule of the oppressor is disease, poverty, lack of adequate infrastructure, unfair trade on the international market, where the product belongs to us, the cocoa is ours, but the foreigner out there, the Bretton Woods people, the neoliberalists are the one who determine the price. If this book is mine and you want to buy it, who determines the price? I will tell you how much I'm selling it to you. And that is the rule of the oppressor. I want to see a day that NDC, CPP, and MPP will come together in this country and say that this is our country, Ghana. We have to hold it to make our country great and strong, bold to defend forever, us as one unit, not as different political parties with different ideologies. I want to see that day. If Afifa came to hide in our house when he was being chased by Rawlings to be killed, and that my father kept him, we can do it. Because Afifa took almost 6 years of my father's life and his people. But he sat with them. Nanado Dankwa Kufuor was of the UP tradition. My father's friend was Nanado Dankwa Kufuor's father of the UP tradition. My father married a UP woman. Today, I do not think that can happen. When Chief Baini married the lady at Maslock, everybody was angry. But why shouldn't he? We have even brought politics into our lab. I can't see how today an NDC woman can marry an NPP man, or a CPP woman can marry an NPP man. It will be chaotic. It will be drastic. But it has happened before. It was happening then. What has changed? We should be able to forge ahead as one nation, one people with one destiny.
If you just join us, you're live on ATV, live on Fact Sheet. It's also running live on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as well. Nanaya Achampem Jantwa, I nearly spoke tree.
Are you tree?
Because of the, I host the morning show as well.
Oh, okay,
and that's a blend of, tree and English. So I nearly went there.
Okay.
But we are taking a short break. When we come back, we will look at the fortunes of the CPP. The next elections is just ahead. She's convinced that the CPP has the potential to win the 2024 elections. We'll find out why and how they are going to make that happen. Then again, there's a very important question I would ask, which has to do with whether political parties need funding from the entire nation. It's our own money we give to the government. We'll be right back. All right, so we have just 10 minutes to wrap up our conversation tonight live on ETV, and we're excited that you joined the conversation. So 2 points I said I was going to make before we end the conversation. One has to do with whether it's about time we had a conversation about resourcing other political parties from state coffers for them to also come up, because it looks like the way money has entered into our politics, without the state's intervention for the smaller political parties, it may be difficult for them to also rise.
A multi-party, if that is not done somewhat, a multi-party democracy might still be hanging like this, where you always have these two parties, unless you strive ahead to make sure you do a lot of fundraising. Apart from the monetization of politics of demand, there's also money. You really need money to move around. Money drives everything. If you are going on organizational drive, even the brochures you are going to print to give out to the people, you need money to print it. Yeah. You need money to take transport with your people, your retinue of maybe youth organizers or organizers to go around and do whatever you have to do. You need transportation. Of course, sometimes you can use organizations like associations and groups. If they're having their conventions and their conference, you can go and speak to them and also do some membership drive. But largely, whoever you take out, you need to buy water for them.
Yeah.
You need to give them transport, especially if they are students at we call them the test chat level. You need to resource them a bit to go around to even do the campaign. So it is high time that we really looked at the funding sources for smaller parties or parties, political parties in this kind. I think it should be on the whole. It shouldn't be only the other parties. If we are doing it for everybody, it should be both everybody, NDC, NPP, CPP, PNC, or NDC, NPP, and then Nkrumahism Front and others. So that at the end of the day, there should be accountability. That however you spend that money, I think that we should give receipts. We should be accountable. Give out receipts, whatever you spent it for. It does not matter. Everybody has a way of spending that is useful to their party, but they should put it in a party account and also give receipts. That I use money to buy water, this, that. This is my receipt. These are the people I gave maybe 10 cedis for transport. They sign. This is the sheet. Then everybody is transparent. Because you'll be using Ghana money to do that. Taxes.
So how are you expecting that to be done in terms of resourcing of the smaller political parties?
The way it has to be done is the kind of projects you want to do. Like maybe today, the relevant ones. We should be able to dichotomize between what is flippant and what is direct. Organization, anything organization to build a party is direct. Do you get me? If you say we are going on a float, that one is flippant. You should find money to fund it. But if you are going to do a membership drive on the ground from constituency to constituency, visiting constituencies to find out how they are faring, that one is organization.
But you just quoted the Prince, Machiavelli's The Prince.
Yes.
You quoted the 48 Laws of Power.
Yes.
Most of the rules therein don't allow for these things you're talking about, resourcing your enemy.
Yes, you can resource your enemy.
How so?
No,
to come and contest you and win and wrestle power from you?
No. You see, it depends on how you do it all. If you resource me, so if you don't give me money, I cannot contest you. If you don't, even if you don't give me, does NDC give NPP money?
It is in the process of struggling.
No, but
if you don't get, then I'm still on the seat.
But does NDC give NPP money?
No.
But they are always struggling. That's
Yeah.
NDC give. I mean, like NDC doesn't give NPP money. NPP doesn't give NDC money. But from our history, you see them changing hands. So if they give other parties money to survive, I don't think it's about you getting the person off.
Okay.
Because if I get you off, and so what? You cannot sit on that seat forever.
Indeed.
Do you get me? If you try to sit on that seat forever, then it means that you are inviting Doboya or whatever his name is into the country. So nobody can sit on that seat forever. Certainly somebody will take you off.
There's a perception that the NDC and the NPP have their claws in your party. Is it true?
It is not true. I have heard this so many times. It is not true. Certainly we have friends. I have friends in NPP. For me, I have family in NPP.
Okay.
President Kufuor is my uncle. I come from that family.
Okay.
Do you get me? I have family. Dr. Akoto is like my cousin. Nana Poku Prempe, that you all call Napo. People think he's called Napoleon. It's my cousin. Do you get me? The Deputy Minister for Energy, Urieku, is my cousin.
Okay.
Do you understand? So we have friends and family across board. Mr. Kwame Pepra, Honorable Kwame Pepra, is my first cousin. He's in NDC. Nana Dankwa Kufuor is like my father. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is like my brother. Because his father and my father were in the Ministry of Agric together. That is my father's deputy before he went to where? To Northern Region as a regional minister. They said they were in the same cell when the coup came in 1966. When the president was born, the former president, it was my father who named them.
Interesting.
Yes. So we have family in both sides. For me, I have friends in NPP, I have friends in NDC. I've worked 27 years in public service. I've met so many people. But I am CPP. That shouldn't be anything that should get in the way. In anybody who says that NPP have their hand in the CPP is not true. In CPP, the people are very perspectival. You cannot have a hand in them. Even if they know that anybody in leadership has a hand in any of these parties, you are gone. The next election, you are out.
All right. We have just 2 minutes to wrap up. I will end with the earlier point you made about Nkrumah and the forgiveness we need to seek from him as a nation.
Yeah.
Where are you taking that after tonight?
I am taking it further because today as I entered that mausoleum, I was convinced that we need to do it. Because if we do not do it, no matter who sits on that seat, no matter what vision that person has for this country. Because you see, forgiveness is key. One of the things that will take you to hell, I am a Christian. I've been a Christian for 35 years and not an ordinary Christian. I am a born-again Christian. One thing that will take you to hell is unforgiveness in your heart. So God is very much interested in forgiveness. And that is one of the reasons why he brought Jesus Christ, so that we can have a forgiveness. Because he knows that for man, we are sinful. So if we don't allow the forgiveness to come, and you see, there's no curse without a cause. If somebody curses you and you haven't hurt the person, it won't get you. But the moment you have hurt somebody and they utter a word, they don't need to do any ritual. Just let that word fall on the ground. It is working. And we hurt Osaje for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He might have his ways. He was a human being. Osaje wasn't a god. He might have his flaws, but we hurt him for nothing at all. We banished him. And no Ghanaian, for any reason, should be banished from this country. No Ghanaian. Because this is our motherland. This is our soil. This country belongs to us. And nobody has the right whatsoever to banish anybody. They should have made him come back, arrest him, put him in jail, put him before trial, let him be guilty. Like they did to everybody. Why banish him even when he was dying? And his death was as a result of splinters from a bomb that was thrown at Kulungulungu. From a cancer that he got out of those splinters, which entered his blood cells. And now the man wants to come home, just to come and die in the bosom of his mother. You say no. He will curse you. He will utter words.
So would I right to say we are a cursed nation?
We can't say we are a cursed nation, but something went wrong that has to be corrected.
All right, we'll end it here, and I'm grateful you made time to join us tonight. It's been very informative, and there's a lot that I've learned tonight in terms of family links and friendships and network and all of that. But I've been here with Nanaya Achampem Jantua, who is the General Secretary of the CPP. We've had a conversation about Ghana and, you know, putting in perspective Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, his vision, what he stood for, the history that some of us didn't know. Tonight, we learned a lot. My name is Samuel, and there will be a repeat broadcast of the show, God willing, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I encourage you to join us, even as that is show. But for now, I leave you in the capable hands of Mercy B and the beautiful ladies as they bring you girl vibes. Good night.